Welcome to Hamster NBC. I'm Pears the Hamster. This is Kids Ask Why, the show where curious kids ask big questions, and the answers surprise not only kids, but parents too. Today's question is a special one, so listen closely and stay curious. And before we begin, remember to watch till the very end, because a long-awaited bedtime story is waiting for you. A calm story. A cozy story, made especially for a quiet, peaceful night. Who came first? The chicken or the egg? This is one of the oldest questions in the world. The egg or the chicken? It sounds like a joke, but science actually knows the answer. And the answer is, the egg came first. But wait, not a chicken egg. Long ago, before chickens existed, animals were already laying eggs. Fish laid eggs. Frogs laid eggs. Dinosaurs laid eggs. Eggs are simply a safe way to grow a baby. Inside every egg is a tiny cell with instructions. Those instructions tell the baby how to grow legs, wings, eyes, and feathers. Over millions of years, animals slowly changed. Each generation was just a little bit different. One day, an animal that was almost a chicken laid an egg, and inside that egg, a real chicken was born. That egg was the first chicken egg, so the egg came first, and the chicken came from the egg. Science loves surprises like this, and now you know the secret behind one of the world's most famous questions. Stay with us till the end, because a calm bedtime story is coming next. A soft story, a cozy story, made just for sleep. Sweet dreams with Hamster NBC. And now the day is slowly drawing to a close. The noise grows quieter. Thoughts slow down. And it's time for storytelling. But before we begin, let's do one small but important thing. If you enjoy learning new things, if you enjoy listening to stories before bed, and if you want to come back again, subscribe to the Hamster NBC channel and like this video. This way, you'll help us create even more kind stories and clear explanations for children all over the world. Now, get comfortable. History is waiting for you. Mother How. Brothers Grimm. A widow had two daughters. One was beautiful and diligent, while the other was plain and lazy. But the plain and lazy one was the widow's own daughter, and she loved her, while the other one was the worst chore in the house. The poor girl had to go out every day to the highway, sit by the well, and spin until blood came from under her fingernails. One day, her spindle was completely stained with blood. She bent down to the water to wash it, but the spindle slipped from her hands and fell into the well. The poor girl burst into tears, ran to her stepmother, and told her of her misfortune. She began scolding her so harshly and showed such mercilessness that she said, "You managed to drop the spindle there, now manage to get it back." The girl returned to the well and didn't know what to do. In her panic, she jumped into the well, intending to retrieve the spindle herself. She immediately lost consciousness, and when she came to, she saw herself lying on a beautiful meadow, with the sun shining merrily upon it and a multitude of flowers all around. The girl walked across the meadow and came to a stove, which was brimming with grain. The grain cried out to her, Get us out quickly, or il burn. We've been baked and ready for a long time." She approached and scooped the grain out of the stove with a shovel. Then she went on and came to an apple tree, which stood full of apples, and she called out to the girl, Shake me, the apples on me have been ripe for ages." She began shaking the tree until the apples rained down, and she shook until not a single apple remained. She piled them up and walked on. Finally, she came to a hut and saw an old woman in the window. The old woman had very, very big teeth, and the girl was overcome with fear, and she wanted to run away. But the old woman called after her, "What are you afraid of? Beautiful maiden, stay with me, and if you do all the work around the house, well, it will be well for you. Just make my bed nice, and fluff my feather bed so thoroughly that the feathers fly everywhere. When feathers fly from it, it's snowing all over the world. After all, I am none other than Lady Blizzard herself." Teed old woman S words. reassured the girl and gave her enough courage that she agreed to serve her. She tried to please the old woman in every way and fluffed her feather bed so that the feathers flew like snowflakes in all directions. And so she lived well with the old woman, never hearing a swear word from her, and she had plenty of everything at her table. After living with Lady Blizzard for some time, the girl suddenly became sad and at first didn't know what she was missing. Finally, she realized that she was simply homesick. No matter how good she felt there, she still longed and yearned for home. Finally, she confessed to the old woman, "I'm homesick, and as comfortable as I am here with you underground, I still wouldn't like to stay here any longer. I'm drawn to return there too. See my family?" Mistress Blizzard said, "I'm glad you want to go home again, and since you've served me well and faithfully, I'll show you the way to the surface myself." Then she took her hand and led her to the large gates. The gates swung open, and when the maiden found herself beneath their arch, gold rained down on her like a rain of gold, clinging to her so completely that she was completely covered in it. "This is your reward for your efforts," said Mrs. Blizzard, and incidentally, she also returned the spindle that had fallen into the well. Then the gate slammed shut, and the fair maiden found herself back in the wide world, not far from her stepmother's house. When she entered the courtyard, a rooster sat on the well and sang, "Cock-a-doodle-doo! What a wonder! Our maiden is all covered in gold." Then she entered her stepmother's house, and since she was wearing so much gold, both her stepmother and sister received her very kindly. The maiden told them everything that had happened to her, and when the stepmother heard how she had acquired such wealth, she conceived the idea of bringing the same fortune to her other daughter, the wicked and ugly one. She set her daughter to spin by the same well, and to ensure that the spindle would bleed, the daughter was to prick her finger and scratch her hand in a thorn bush. Then she threw the spindle into the well and jumped in after it, and she found herself, just like her sister before, in a beautiful meadow, and continued along the same path. She came to the stove, and the loaves of bread cried out to her, take us out quickly, or we'll burn. We're long since baked." But the lazy one replied, "Oh, no. How could I get dirty for you?" On went on. Soon she came to the apple tree, which cried out to her, "Shake me off! Shake me off quickly! The apples on me have long since ripened." But the lazy one replied, "I really need them. Perhaps another apple will fall on my head," and went on her way. Arriving at Lady Snowstorm's house, she wasn't afraid of her, having heard from her sister about her large teeth, and immediately entered her service. On the first day, she struggled to overcome her laziness and showed some zeal, obeying her mistress's instructions, because she could unget the gold she was to receive as a reward out of her head. The next day she became lazy, and the third, even more so. And then she didn't want to get out of bed in the morning at all. She didn't even make Lady Snowstorm's bed properly, nor did she shake it out so that the feathers flew everywhere. So she soon bored her mistress, and she gave her up. The lazy one was overjoyed, thinking now a shower of gold would fall upon her. Lady Snowstorm led her to the same gate, but when the lazy girl stood at the gate, it wasn't gold that spilled on her, but a whole cauldron full of resin. "This is your reward for your service," said Lady Snowstorm, and slammed the gate behind her. The lazy girl returned home, covered from head to toe in resin, and the cockerel on the well, seeing her, began to sing, "Cock-a-doodle-doo-at," a miracle. The girl was completely covered in resin, and this resin clung to her so firmly that it never came off.